Your opinion's important, so you gotta speak out. Don't let your chance to be heard pass by. Spell out, let me hear you loud, proud. Shout it out, real loud. Everybody wake up, shout it out, real loud. Everybody wake up, wake up. No time for sleeping on the issues. This is Neutral Voices, we gon' deal with the issues.
What do you really want, what they
Welcome to Neutral Voices. I'm Dr. V, and this is In Depth, where we dig deep in the trenches of what matters. And tonight, we're going to be talking about the impact of drugs. And I would definitely say that matters.
Yes.
Yeah.
And specifically, if we can, in our city,
Yes.
we want to talk about it. And at some point, we're going to keep it all the way real. So we're going to hip you to some of the lingo for specific drugs so that you are aware. And maybe you hear this in your house, hopefully not amongst the teens, but you need to know. So this is Neutral Voices. Stick around. We're bringing awareness to drugs.
Yes.
So speaking of drugs and awareness, one of the things that I learned was that there's a lot of, I'll say, accidental deaths.
Yes.
Too.
Yes.
Okay, now some people do drugs and they know what they're doing and they may purposely OD. But there are a lot of accidental
Yes.
deaths
Right.
because people don't really realize what's on the streets today.
Exactly.
That's true.
So speaking of, one of the surprise, I want to be careful because even though we're talking about it and we may make light of the situation and drugs, the use and abuse, we understand how serious it is.
It is.
Absolutely.
It is.
And I would say it's something that all families have dealt with or are dealing with. And I hate to say, and if you haven't,
It's possible.
Yeah. Odds
It's
are you will.
possible.
Statistically.
odds are you may.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, being very careful that there's a lot of street drugs, pills, etc., pretty pills, things that young people might want
Yes.
to
Right.
try just because it's trendy,
Right.
Right.
or just because the friends, their so-called friends, and we're going to talk about that a little bit, may influence them. I tried it. You got to try it.
Right. Right.
So it's your turn. Or in order to get in the party, you have to take a pill.
Yeah.
Right.
So, we need to bring awareness to this. And I always say, I don't want to blame the parents for everything. But parents, you do have to educate yourself so that you can educate your child so that they know what's out there in these streets. And how young do y'all think you should start educating your child on drugs?
As soon as you start educating them on everything else.
So
Absolutely.
when you say that, so we get it with sex, et cetera, et cetera. So you have a 10-year-old. Is that too young?
No.
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 Okay, I like that y'all
actually,
saying
I would say you start them off at 5.
5 years
Yeah.
old.
Yeah, because it's the way the world is moving today. These kids already know about a lot of these drugs, mainly off the music.
Uh-oh.
There you go.
Yep.
Now that's a whole
Exactly.
other can of worms to open up because we need to monitor what they're listening to, but
That's
sometimes you
exactly-
can't.
that's true.
Is
Yeah.
that
You
right?
you can't monitor everything, but just off the music alone,
TV.
and the TV that get these
TikTok.
kids
Yeah.
thinking. So you have to understand now we got to be at a point where we got to pay attention to what we're listening to in front of the kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing right there.
And not only the music, but educate them in your house because you might be inadvertently exposing your children in your language and what you're saying. So you have to, as long as you can teach them, as long as they're of an age of learning, because kids are getting younger and younger experimenting nowadays.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So you don't want to wait till after they've tried it to talk to them about it, because they're gonna be like, it ain't no use of you talking to me. But I remember, what were we in? We were like in maybe the 4th or 5th grade when they had the DARE program. Y'all remember the DARE program?
They came in and talked to us.
I was younger.
The shirt,
Dare was
all of it.
was about
drug
drinking, right?
No,
Was it
DARE.
about drugs.
D-A-R-E, the red letters.
Right.
What was it? DARE, drug
Right.
awareness and
Something.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, I remember that. So let's talk real quick about a lot of the things when it comes to demographics, a lot of things that we need to look at, because some people tend to think that it only happens in a certain area or for a certain type of people, and that there's certain drugs in that area. Let's talk about that. So let's deal with age.
So obviously we know that addiction doesn't discriminate. We're talking about 5 years old, 10 years old. Unfortunately, a 10-year-old, it's not uncommon now to overdose on medication, whether it be, in their parents' medicine cabinet. You bring up demographics and age. So my daughter, her father, I'm just going to be real, wanted her to go to a better school. So he went to Woodland. He wanted her to go to Leo. Kids are better at Leo, right? Okay, fine. She'll go to Leo. So she went to Leo, she graduated. I found out, I believe, her freshman year that they were selling cocaine, vapes, ecstasy, Adderall on Snapchat. So if you purchase it, you just go to Billy's locker and you get it from him.
Woodland. I mean,
And most of
at
those,
the good school.
right? And a lot of those medications, people don't know this, but they come from your medicine cabinet. If you go get surgery and they give you a month's worth of pills and you stick it in your medicine cabinet, like my parents did when I was younger, the kids are getting those and they're selling them at the schools for $10 a pill, usually on average. So when we talk about demographics and the stereotypes, I've definitely seen the other side to where it doesn't happen in better places with better kids, with more money, etc.
exactly.
But that's where the pill parties come from.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
100%.
I mean, people don't even understand the pill party and what they do at a pill party. If you don't know, parents, they take the prescription drugs out of your medicine cabinet and just dump them all in a bowl,
in a punch bowl.
So that's where they got the Percocet and the
They got everything.
Vicodin and
Yeah,
everything
everything.
Mama had.
and you popping them like they Skittles.
Yep.
Yeah, and you got, that's your admission, as Jill was talking about. Your admission to the party is you have to bring a bottle of
prescription pills.
prescription drugs, and they pour them in this punch bowl. And these are the, as she say, the more, my
Upper
kids
echelon.
wouldn't do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are my kids wouldn't do that. They don't do street drugs, and that's for that other side of town.
They
But
don't do
these are the
street
ones
drugs, but
that
they
are,
do
that are having
cabinet
these
drugs.
pill parties in these cabinets. They put them in a punch bowl, and that's your admission. And you don't know what you're taking, because what's in that bowl, you don't know what people put in that bowl.
Yeah.
But so demographic,
just taking a
take it,
chance.
yeah.
Gambling with your life.
They're playing
basically.
Russian roulette with pills.
Exactly. So, you had anything else with age?
I just wanted to say a statistic that was kind of wild is 48.7 million Americans aged 12 and up had a substance abuse disorder in the past year. So that is a disorder, something that was obviously diagnosed. Think about all of the people addicted to drugs that haven't reached out for help or haven't, saw a physician. So that's 49 million people over the age of 12
Wow.
in the last year. That's crazy.
Yeah. And speaking of age, different ages, so here's some quick numbers for you, statistics. Age rate, and I want to talk about this a little bit, age rate of drug overdose deaths decreased between ages 15 and 24. This was in 21 to 22, so during this year. And then 25 to 34, while 35 and older increased. Why do you think for the older people at that point, 35 and up, 21, 22, why do you think death with overdose with drugs happen?
Because of the accessibility. And I'm going to say a lot of them, in that time frame, if y'all can think back, that's when a lot of these doctors got in trouble for overprescribing. And, they get addicted to, let's say, Percocet. But then their prescription ends. So they're now looking for the harsher, and they're getting the harsher and the stronger drugs, and they can afford them. And, so it changed their drug of choice,
Changes.
and that way it changes the age because those are the ones that have more access to it.
Yeah.
Can you remember anything else that was going on between?
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to bring that up. So between 21 and 22, so that increase, and we're talking about, and then age 35 to 44, 63.1%. So out of 1,000 people, 63 people
Yeah.
OD'd on drugs during that 1 year.
Yeah.
And so when I was looking at that, I'm thinking about what happened during that time.
That stress, that depression,
So much stress.
life changed.
People losing their jobs. Some people were under pressure to get the shot
Yeah.
or lose their
Right.
job. Family members dying from COVID. So a lot of stress. And so when we look at the demographics and the different reasons why people do drugs and why they abuse drugs,
Yeah.
and sometimes accidentally,
Right.
misuse or abuse drugs, that would be one of the things, stress related.
Yep. Absolutely.
So outside of age and those different things, let's talk about the gender. So male, female, who's using more drugs?
Well,
Let's take a stab. Let's
take a stab.
Yeah, let's take a stab because
I know.
I mean
Who do you
we
think?
got the numbers already.
Yeah, who
So
do you think?
what you think?
who do you think use drugs more?
Women. They have so much. I'm just making
Women.
excuses.
Women.
They have to take care of so much and then work and then till the field. And I'm just saying, paint the house.
Yep.
You know.
something. That's
Okay.
you hear this bull
But it's
almost
true more with like for stimulants and things like cocaine and such. What else was it? Adderall. All of those are uppers. And like you said, women have,
Well,
they're more apt.
I'm gonna give y'all this. Women are more apt to be users of cocaine and methamphetamines. Everything else, men, marijuana, alcohol, heroin, ecstasy, everything, men. Now they say the women, it's the cocaine, and which really threw me that women are more apt to use cocaine than men are.
Well, because it's a stimulant, like Jill
It's
said,
an
that's what I
Y'all
said.
want to go to sleep. That's why you do it. We got to clean the house, everything else.
Yeah, we want to go to sleep because they hear your mouth.
We got work to do. Exactly.
No, we got tired of hearing your mouth, so we go to sleep.
But in meth is crazy.
Yeah.
You know, up until 2 years ago, do y'all know Indiana was the highest producing meth state in the country?
Matter of fact, it was in it's close to Fort
up
Worth.
north.
It's literally close to where I'm from.
LaGrange,
It is
yeah,
big.
LaGrange County.
Yep.
LaGrange
Yep.
and up near the lakes and
Yep.
everything.
Yeah.
They were the biggest. Now, the manufacturing, everything's been outsourced. You know, and seriously, it's being imported from Mexico because it's more potent or whatever. I don't know. But Indiana, for the longest, was the highest producing state for meth.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to talk before we get into the other demographics and things like that. I want to talk real quick about some of the street drugs now. So I know that fentanyl is a big name. It's on the streets doing a lot of damage. And outside of fentanyl, just being fentanyl, it's disguised now.
Right.
They're adding other stuff
Right.
to all of the drugs actually, but they're adding stuff to what people thought was just
Right.
oxycodone,
Yes.
etc. Yes. So let's talk about some of these street names so people
so they've been
are
lacing-
aware of what's really going on.
Before we get into the names, you brought up a very valid point because most drugs now on the street are manufactured. They're not, and they have to be cut. You know, which means they have to have a base to it. And unfortunately, a lot of the cutting and the base is with fentanyl. And it does not take a whole lot of fentanyl to kill a person. I think it's like less than 2 milligrams.
Oh,
less than
I
2
have
milligrams.
An example of that. You want to have that? There's some salt for you.
Oh, wow.
So how about 1, 2, 3 grains of salt? 2 grams. Yes.
Yes.
Grains.
Well,
Grains.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not grams. Then you definitely
It's
kind of
less
kill
than
them
two
with grams.
milligrams.
2 grams actually is lethal
Is it 2 grams?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is 2 grams.
It's
Okay, it's 2 grams.
And-
But I'm just telling y'all what that looks
Yeah,
like.
Yeah,
it's
nothing.
real.
It
It's
looks
real
like
little.
nothing.
It's real little.
And here's
Like
a big
a few
thing
granules.
with that. So the DEA, when they test the pills that they collect or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
42% of those pills tested positive for fentanyl, but these pills were not fentanyl. These
No.
pills were Percocet,
That's right.
oxycodone,
Yeah.
Vicodin, Norco, etc.
Yes.
So the scary part is everyone says, well, why do the dealers do this? Because the dealers are running a what? They're running a business.
Right.
So if I can cut cocaine or whatever I'm selling with fentanyl, not to kill them, but to get them extremely addicted, and not to mention it's very cheap
was
because it
getting
only
ready to
takes
say.
a very small amount.
Hold on.
Well-
Let me give you just a little knowledge behind it.
Okay.
If you give me pure cocaine, that's high enough. But being that people steps on it, mix it up with other things, that's why they put other drugs mixed in with them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we making it seem like this is new.
No.
This is not new at all. This has been going on for years.
When you
More
say
deadly though. It's much more deadly.
No, it's not.
Fentanyl. Then what did they used to cut it with? Baking soda?
No. See, that's
That's the TV.
the TV
No,
version.
but I mean, if
No, that's the TV
So what
version.
did they used to cut it
That's
with?
the TV version.
That was more
Because
dangerous.
because they would cut it. Stuff would be cut with heroin.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, black tar.
But it was pure though, right? Back then, wasn't it?
Let me
okay,
finish.
you're right. I was going to say.
Not all of it.
Not all of it.
Okay,
So when
educate.
when you cut, say Lord, I'm about to tell. But anyway, when you say you get a 100% cocaine,
Okay.
in order to maximize the sales, you cut it. And it's not being cut with fentanyl. It's being cut with other stuff.
Right.
So you still can get the high.
Right.
So in order to get a higher high, they would use things like heroin. They would use hash. They would use all kinds of things. Fentanyl just came along the scene not too long ago. And being that fentanyl is a drug that doctors use
Exactly.
to put you to sleep.
Okay.
So now like I said, this been going on. Harsh drugs been hitting our community for years. But being that it hit a certain demographic,
Now it's a problem.
now it's a problem.
Yes.
Okay, so with that, so let's educate a little bit about what is fentanyl. And so to break it down, it is a synthetic opioid made in a lab and from different chemicals, the precursors, instead of the poppy like some drugs come from. It is 50 times more potent than heroin. 100 times more potent than morphine,
Yeah.
which sounds crazy. And then, so according to the DEA, so I said grams, so 2 milligrams
2 milligrams, yeah.
can kill you. Is lethal to most people, not all, to most people, equivalent to, and that's why I said just a few grains of salt so that we can connect to that. And it was actually developed for people that had like long,
Yep.
standing
Yep.
Right.
pain
Pain,
situations
yes.
like cancer. And so they would give them this fentanyl in an injection form,
patch.
a throat lozenge, or a patch. It also comes in powder form and or pressed into counterfeit drugs like
Right.
we were talking about. So it looks like a regular pill.
right.
So it's could be pressed into Oxycontin, Percocet, Vicodin, Xanax, Adderall, ecstasy, the Molly, and other pills or
Correct.
tablets. But this is something that I thought was interesting. So I was asking the question, why would drug dealers want to kill their customers?
I don't think it's-
Right? I know. I was asking
Right.
that
Yeah.
question until I realized something, that they may not be trying to kill them, and maybe they accidentally overdose. Right? That was what I concluded. You know, because I was coming up with all kind of conspiracy theories, like maybe that's the way to control the population. Well, that's how come you have to dig a little deeper, and that's what I did. So, but I thought this was really interesting, that this is actually like a form of advertising
Right.
for some
Right.
of
For
the
sure.
drug dealers. Did y'all see where if somebody dies, it's okay if it's one or two,
Right.
because that will boost their reputation for
How
having
strong in the-
Yeah.
stronger, more potent drugs.
Yeah.
How sick Is
Right,
that
man.
and
Yep.
that's what he was saying back in the 70s. They did that with heroin.
Yeah.
You know, the stronger your heroin, if I sold you your heroin, if I was a heroin dealer and I sold you heroin, if you nodded off after that shot,
You feel good about it?
you feel good about it. But if it took you a while for you to nod off, it ain't that strong. So it's the potency. I'm just trying to get you to this potency to make you feel better. But as he said, this has been going on for a while, and you were asking, what are some of the things that it's mixed with, like the Molly. That's the ecstasy. That's a party drug. A lot of people are taking these party drugs because one, it keeps you up. And for men, they say it gives men, make men more virile, and they can give them stamina. So they're taking these drugs thinking, but it's mixed with all this stuff. And you don't know what you're taking, but I'm taking this party drug, so I want to be the man of the night. So I'm gonna take an ecstasy pill, and that's what a lot of young men are taking them for. They take them in perks and ecstasy.
They're actually taking perks. It's funny how people can get their hands on certain drugs, and they taking perks and crushing them now. Well, they crushing them. They snorting them.
Snorting the
Yeah,
Percocet.
they're snorting them like it's cocaine. Or you be careful where you lay your drink at.
100%.
Because they also taking the Mollies and all the other pills. They'll crush them
With
and put
fentanyl,
it,
and
put it,
probably
and
pop it right in your drink.
put in your drink. So some of the stuff that they are doing with these drugs is unbelievable. For one, I could go back to when I seen Dr. Kawaza Kajufu, and for you drug dealers, if you doing this and it's crazy, if you know how to cut and do this, do you not realize you are a true chemist?
You could be
Yeah.
yeah,
So
actual
go
pharmacist.
do something more positive.
Exactly, because they're doing the
So-
same thing that the major pharmaceuticals are doing.
Okay. So while you're saying that, and so I just want to make sure we understand why fentanyl is being added to the street drugs. And so here's some of the things, and you guys may have something else you want to add to it, but it's actually cheaper to make.
Right.
It's easy to smuggle in because it's very small, so it is more powerful
Right.
in that small quantity. And it has the same profit margin as other drugs.
Right.
So and then the other one we all know is highly addictive. And so you want to
Right.
buy more and buy more. And so the drug dealers obviously know that. And so here's the other thing. They're taking the fentanyl and all these other drugs. Now, did y'all hear, I got this from my students. Did y'all hear that they was adding like horse tranquilizers?
They've been doing that for
Suicides?
years.
Yeah.
So Allen
is
County,
ridiculous.
Allen County just came out with an article, actually March 21st, and it's they call it Trank, and it's been around, but now it's here, and the overdose have came 516% increase just in the Midwest of finding this drug, which is an animal tranquilizer. It's called what is it? XYL, xylazine, something like that. So that's the newest thing on top of it, and that kind of eats your skin from the inside out if you do a little research on it. Basically, any pill that you're taking off the street, anything that you're getting off the street right now, is not
It has a.
what you think it is.
Yeah,
It's-
it has fentanyl on
got
it. You
something
can
in
almost
it.
bet it
It's
got
got
fentanyl.
something.
And so we talked about that like right before the show, or how they used to pass, puff, puff, pass, right? That's what they used to do.
Right.
Not me. I never did that. What was it, President? I never touched this.
Bill Clinton. I didn't inhale. You didn't inhale, Dr.
Okay, so in other words, you can be with your buddies, your friends, your close friends,
Right.
and you're doing this and you feel safe.
Right.
You're never safe. And I can make it personal, but I won't. But you can pass that,
Yeah.
and innocent people
Get
can
hurt.
be hurt.
Yes.
And life would be changed forever. I'm
Yes.
just saying.
And
No cure.
Yeah. And I'm gonna agree with you, Doc V. And even as simple as weed, as most states right now are, trying to decriminalize weed or trying to find weed, and even the DEA is thinking about recertifying weed as a category of drug that it's in. But we have messed people up. They can lace it with cocaine. They call it Mo's.
Yes.
They dip it in embalming fluid,
Oh, my
which is
goodness.
wet. Or they put angel dust in it. And, these are things, angel dust, that'll send you on a trip that you might never come back from.
That's what I'm talking about.
And
PCP from
and we made it funny. It made it funny in the movie Friday. When Smokey got a hold of some red hair angel dust, but it just made him tweak out. But there's been people that have smoked what they thinking is weed, and it's laced. I can tell you this. You say you can make it personal. I can tell you this. I think I was in the 10th grade, and we were on the school bus, but we were at the bus stop, and these guys were smoking weed. But this weed, first of all, it was popping like popcorn, and it was more pungent than anything that I'd ever smelled. And this dude tweaked out. I mean, he tweaked out. He jumped on the bus driver. Bus driver had to pull over. Then he started running down the street, taking his clothes off, and it was just crazy. And this from weed, but you don't know what people are putting in these things. And but we're at these parties, like you say, puff pass. You passing it. And you said friends. You got to think about your circle. Who are your friends?
Beware.
Very aware.
Yeah, and they may not even know, depending on who got, who picked it up. So you got 5 on it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You just don't know. Anyway, so let's talk about some trends. What factors influence some of the trends with drugs?
big time.
Music, definitely.
Man,
Media,
if you listen to literally, if you listen to a lot of these songs within the last, I want to say 10 years, 10 to 12 years.
Because Serb came before all of these.
Yeah, Serb came before them, but I mean, even in our era, we didn't. You didn't talk about.
Rick James did.
No, you didn't talk about it. I mean, you might talk about smoking some weed.
Right.
Okay,
But
that's about it. We was. I mean, in our era of
That was
music.
it.
Our era of music was more of we was the dope dealers.
Yeah, drug dealers.
Now
it's
they
a
are the drug users.
Yeah,
Wow.
pop this, pop a Percocet,
Pop this,
do
pop this, Molly Percocet.
Yep.
I mean, they got a whole song
Molly Perkins
named after a drug.
And the guys singing them are overdosed and they're dying.
Chris Brown got a song. It's supposed to be a love song. The first line of the song, Percocets and Molly's.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So you have to understand, this is what these kids are ingesting in their brain.
Absolutely.
Right. Kids, teens, adults,
Adults,
etc. People like
People are ingesting this in their brain. So that's the first thing they do. I'm going to get her tonight.
Yep.
Let me slide this in her drink.
And watch this. And some of the other things that would be obviously trending and influence trends, the law.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, if you tell me this is okay, I might decide I want to explore a little bit. I might want to start with some gummies and some brownies and some something. Yeah. But so the shift in laws and the way the community views it, that's obviously going to influence some other things that I want to bring up real quick. The street names. So because they're not just walking around saying, here's some fentanyl or you want to buy fentanyl. So what are the names that we need to know about? And when we hear it, a red flag, especially parents checking text messages and somebody say to you, I want to buy some apples. Do you want some apples? So apples would be one name for fentanyl or opioids and those different things. Let me give you some other names. I know y'all got some. I heard you say them. Beans, green apples or apples. The Shady 80. Fake Oxy, obviously. What else y'all said?
E.
Greenies.
Yes, just E. XTC. You said a bean. Eve. You got weed. You got Bud. You got Reggie. You got. These are for Dro. These are all just for marijuana, and you hear these names.
MJ.
Yeah, you hear Coke. You powder. heroin, dog food, boy, dog. I mean, there's so
Wow.
many common terms, and I mean, you can Google most of them, find out what your kids, as you trying to find out what your kids are texting, and
Or your husband. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm just saying, your husband or family members.
Can you
they're-
drop off them apples? No.
But we're trying to figure out what they're saying in text language. You can Google and find out what your kids are saying when it comes to drugs, and a lot of them, Molly. Most adults don't know what
Right.
Molly is when they talk to
Right.
things like that. But it's a whole lot, and
Some other things. So not to cut that off, because I know that's some good stuff, good street talk. We need to know that lingo. But when people are coming down off of it, or they're trying to come down off of it, the things that parents can look for, some of the things that you notice that this person is, sleepy or yawning or craving stuff all of a sudden, so knowing certain signs that say, okay, wait. All of a sudden, what's going on with you?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Noticing those things. So as a community of people, I would say it is our duties to be aware of that. Have
Yeah.
you been driving down the street and you see somebody just standing there?
yes.
I was
Doing
just
that
going
Michael
to say,
Jackson lean?
if you don't believe it's in our community, drive around, because every night when I leave work at 11 o'clock, I'm telling you that it's in our community.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
It's right here. It's in your backyard.
You ain't got to be 11 o'clock.
It's
Come
bad.
come across the street any time of day.
Yep.
Come across
Broad
the street
daylight,
anytime. of day. In
It
front
doesn't
of our
matter my
building.
In any
socioeconomic
area.
Yeah.
status. It doesn't matter how much money I got.
No,
My
it
job,
doesn't.
where I work.
No, it does not discriminate.
I was somewhere just recently, and somebody it was in a parking lot. I think it was a Walmart parking lot. I think it was over the weekend. We were just down. I mean, this man in his truck. I mean, it was a nice truck, but I mean, you can tell. I mean, he was just, zoned. I mean, and you could tell it was not I'm tired sleep.
Nodded out.
I mean, he nodded out. I mean, just gone. And like I said, he
And
was in
could
a
I
nice.
ask, without blasting you, because I'm guilty.
Right.
What did you do, and what should we do when we see a person like that? Should we try to help? Should we get them out of the middle of the street?
First and
What should we
foremost,
do?
you got to be careful because you don't know what they use, and it could be on them.
Yeah.
And you can, and it's really rare, but you can really ingest some of the residue. It depends on how much and it could affect you.
Right.
So I would always say be cautious, but always I would call emergency personnel. I would not try to help anybody myself. I would call an emergency personnel
Absolutely.
to let them handle it.
211.
911.
Everyone, you can. I was going to say you can also call
The non-emergency.
211 if
Non-emergency,
it's. I'm just saying, it could be a family member of or someone, and they're at a party. You trying to figure out what's going on, etc. They could be going and coming, going in and out. So 911 always, but 211 if you need some help, and then there's 211 plus an organization called Open Beds if you need help for a loved one.
And I think
Go ahead, Jeff.
I think too, there's the free. A lot of people didn't agree with the Narcan program because they thought it was that all the
Encouraging.
but it wasn't for that. So I actually carry Narcan in my glove box, not because I'm an addict,
That's good.
but because I'm around a lot of people that I know are addicts or people on the street. I've actually used it twice, administered it. I have no idea what I'm doing. It's very easy. But it's something that we can do because you may not just use it on a stranger. Your daughter may come home and have taken a pill to stay awake to study from her best friend. Like, there's so many reasons. So Narcan, having that with you, I think is
The antidote.
it's life changing.
That's
Yeah,
it.
you may need it for somebody sitting right next to you.
Right.
So
That
that's
just-
what I do. I
That
carry
happens to have fentanyl poisoning is what it is, and so having that could save a life. And
Right.
now the facts are it doesn't always.
Right, absolutely.
But you stand a greater chance of surviving if somebody can
Somebody- yeah.
inject that, administer that particular medication. Some other things with, I know it's time to go. Like, I know it's time to go, but some other things real quick. I just want to make sure that we understand as a community, and I mentioned this, sometimes we don't want to be the snitch. But sometimes we have to. We have to do what's best for other people. So I believe, I don't know about you guys, but I believe that it's all about saving a life.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so when you know somebody that, I'll say, a drug dealer, a user, a pusher, and they're trying to influence people, how would you intervene? Like if you knew somebody and you know that this is what they're doing, how would you safely intervene? Or are you one of those people that say snitches get stitches and I'm gonna keep my mouth shut?
And I'm gonna answer that, but I'm gonna add one thing to that. I think too many of us let people problems be their problems. You know, I'm not going to take on the problems. If they want to do, let them do, and we don't address the problem, so we don't take that on.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, you can go about it two ways, and I personally would do it on both ways. If I knew the dealer, I could talk to them personally. I'm going to go to them personally. You know, it's X, Y, and Z, it's this. Or if you know that the person that is actually getting into it, you go talk to that person and tell them, you know, the best way, or try to steer them in a different way.
I ain't doing any of that. I won't. I'm
It
not.
can be
two
scary.
sides.
It can be scary, but it all depends on your rapport, your relationship with people. I actually know drug dealers and I know drug users, and I've talked to both of them.
And they would think you were crazy if you.
I ain't getting no names. I ain't getting no names, but
Well, I was just gonna say,
nothing wrong with you.
when we talk about awareness and we talk about neighborhood and we talk about community doing our part and working together to make our community better, do we really mean that? And do we really
Well, I
want
mean,
that?
if you want to blame anybody, now I'm just gonna be honest. I'm finna be 100. Not now one of them.
Not now.
Not now one of them got the boat to bring it over here, to let them bring it over here. Let's start right there. So you want
Okay.
to snitch on the little man, start with the big man who's actually put the drugs in the community. Let's start right there.
Yeah.
So let's not, nah.
So don't tell on them, 'cause
my
it really
thing
ain't their
about it is, hey, if you want to sit and put some booger sugar up your nose, or you want to pop you a perk and not knowing what you really putting in your mouth because you want to be in with the in crowd, you be the dumb butt to do it. Period. That's your choice.
your choice.
At all. I mean, 100%.
So
It is what it is. I can only put
got
it like this. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. There's a lot of horses out that water that's not drinking.
And so I think you summed up this little sentence. Overall, the drug landscape will continue to evolve for years to come.
Many. Yeah.
To affect, many generations to come. And so in a perfect world, the community would come together to promote health and safety. But for now, we just got to hope for the best, do our part. So numbers to call, 211, more information and help, or 911 if it's a matter of life or death. Thank you for joining us. This is Neutral Voices. See you next time. E, what do we say?
Always protect your mind.
A podcast by Neutral Voices Media
Count your
Group,
opinions important, so you
NV.
gotta speak out. Don't let your chance to be heard pass by. Spell out, let me hear you loud, proud. Shout it out real loud. Everybody wake up. Shout it out real loud. Everybody wake up. Wake up. No time for sleeping on the issues. This is Neutral Voices. We gon' deal with the issues.
With